lack of saturated fats and DHA in the diet. DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. DHA is the primary essential fatty acid. 40% of your brain tissue is made up of DHA. Your myelin, anyone heard the term myelin? Myelin sheath, right? That little rubbery insulation material that wraps around the nerve fibers, the circuitry in your brain and your nervous system. MS, Parkinson's. What's that all about? MS is two things, both of those actually. I'll tell two things. Dopamine depletion and myelin. Myelin sheath. What happens is that myelin gets oxidized because it doesn't have the lubrication materials like DHA, which coats over the circuitry in your brain, your nerves, and it keeps you calm. You're like, oh, everything's going good. I can think straight. I'm calm. I'm not firing, misfiring. Everything's good, right? But when you have a circuitry problem, basically an oxidation, that wiring gets broken down. You can see the pictures of it, what it actually looks like. Basically, the nerves are no longer protected, and they get fried. And so you have short circuiting, right? This kind of thing. We've all seen that on some level. Or people like freak out. It's a misfiring a lot of times. So the DHA actually appears to be really critical for hormone balance. And then lack of saturated fats. We know that saturated fat, like coconut oil, like ghee, like cacao butter, like coconuts in general, and then the fats that are in avocados, the fats that are in olives, different kind of fat, but still, what they do is they help your body produce the number one material you need for all your hormones. Does anyone know what that is? It's like silly putty. No, not exactly. It's the silly putty that your body uses to form hormones. You get underneath the sun, you get naked underneath the sun, and you ain't producing no vitamin D without it. When vitamin D hits it, it causes a chemical reaction, and then vitamin D is created on the spot. Cholesterol. That's what I'm talking about. Cholesterol. Your body needs cholesterol in order to form hormones. When the photons of the sun hit cholesterol in your body, or even on your body, using it cosmetically, like coconut oil on your body, it starts to form that vitamin D3 that we were talking about before. Make sense? Starting to put the pieces are starting to come together a little bit. So you need healthy cholesterol. And actually, that'll lead us right here. Prescription medications. Prescription medications. I mean, if there was number one thing I could say about estrogen toxicity, remember I was saying that there's three primary things? We've already laid out the first one, which is just xenoestrogens, fake estrogen imposters. The second one is metabolic toxins. It's toxins that normally, through normal metabolism, it's part of the aging sequence, the aging cycle. Normally, at some point in your life cycle, you're going to accrue an accumulation of estrogen. It's just part of the deal. We're going to talk about how to actually flip that, what's been learned about that, and how to inhibit that conversion process, right? And then the other part is just liver toxicity. Your liver gets backed up, and all your hormones have to filter through the liver in order to go to where they need to go. So if your liver is congested, you have a fatty liver, you have a toxic liver, everything just gets backed up, and you're no longer producing what's called methyl groups. You're no longer able to methylate. Talk about that again, too. So birth control pills, that's the big one. That's the big one, especially, obviously, for women, is right? You're on birth control pills for a year. for 2 years, 3, some people a decade. And then as soon as you get off it, it's like things start to tank out. I've even had people come up to me and tell me I was prescribed birth control pills not because I needed them, but because to balance my hormones. It's like, huh? Why didn't they prescribe you progesterone cream? See how the whole situation is just like, yeah, it's just like, it's really, common sense is not so common. It's just kind of like gone out the door. And now we just hear drugs. And you go to your doctor and you're like, well, doctor, do you think that this might have anything to do with my diet? No. It has nothing to do with what you put into your mouth. But take this pill. And put it into your mouth. And people, what's even crazier to me is like people just buy it. They're like, okay. It's like if someone goes to the doctor and the doctor's like, okay, Mr. Jones, Mr. Smith, you got this situation going on with your kidneys, with your, I don't know, with your liver, with whatever, we're going to have to operate. We've got to go in there and surgically remove that. And people are like, okay. It's like, you don't want a second opinion? A third opinion? No, they don't want any opinion. It was like, no, the doctor in the white trench coat told me to do this. It was like, that must be the thing to do. Okay. Statin drugs. You know what statins are? Cholesterol-lowering medication. Yes. Well, it can have that effect. And that's another thing, too, about blood thinners is that you got to be very careful. Well, I don't support that anyways. I support herbal medication. Like, there's herbs that can thin your blood, right? If you have a coagulation, like you have a blood clumping, again, like a diabetic condition, it's very easy to work out. I mean, geez, like imagine what 32 ounces of green vegetable juice could do. Just do that every day. Don't change anything else. Just do that and see what happens. Let alone all the herbal prescriptions that you could do to thin your blood if you need to. But cholesterol-lowering medication, extremely dangerous. Now we have this whole fear propaganda, the pathology of fear towards cholesterol, right? Like cholesterol is the devil. I won't even go into the whole cholesterol thing. It's so silly to me now. But we have this whole fear around it, like, oh, cholesterol is going to clog my arteries. It's the worst thing ever. Right? There's all kinds of different cholesterol. What appears to be the case is what actually coats the inner lining of the arterial passages, your arteries and your capillaries, is not, there's residue of cholesterol, but it's typically cooked and oxidized cholesterol, and animal-based cholesterol. That's actually what appears to be the case. But it's also calcium excretions or calcium residue that's formed, that's blocking the passageway of blood, that's embedded into that cholesterol material. And it's also biofilm material. Like Lyme disease, right? The plaque on your teeth, it's biofilm, which is basically like a bacterial material, bacterial-infested material. You can look more into that. Biofilm infections. That's what the plaque on your teeth is. Plaque in your arteries is, or it's very similar. Right? So when people get on cholesterol-lowering medication, their hormones start to tank out. So just to put that out there. And then again, there was another thing I was thinking about with this. It doesn't matter. Maybe it'll come up later. Lack of nature. Artificial insulation. Artificial insulation. Artificial reality. Boxed in reality. Right? So like you wake up in a box. You eat out of a box. You go drive to a box. You work out of a box and you get there in a box on wheels. and your reality is essentially in a box, and then you become square? Right? You're insulated from every end from the motherboard of the earth. You're not getting a direct connection to the ground, to the sand, to the lawn, to the ecstatic skin of the earth. That's a good term. That's a permaculture term. The ecstatic skin of the earth. Grounding, earthing. That has a lot to do with your hormones. Your thyroid. We're going to talk more about that, but that's a very important thing, is with your thyroid and your adrenals. Most thyroid issues are adrenal issues. Most adrenal issues are thyroid issues. They work together. They work in a feedback loop with each other. Right? They're in direct communication. And the earth is sending off what's called negatively charged ions that are pulsating out of the earth, and your feet, when you're barefoot on the earth, or you're laying on the earth skin to skin, you start to receive those through your skin. Right? Really important idea to know about. And that apparently appears to be the best blood thinner, is the vitamin E, earth. Not tocopherol, tocotrienol. Not that vitamin E, that's something else. Earth. That thins your blood better than anything according to the research.